Welcome to the Your Wedding Unlimited podcast, a space where we break free from tradition, creating a wedding day totally authentic to you and your love story. I'm Abby, UK wedding planner and owner of Elegance Unlimited, here to help you plan a wedding day that feels uniquely yours. Join me for planning tips and advice, endless inspiration, and a pocket full of calm within the chaos that is wedding planning. Consider me a trusted friend, here to walk you through it all. From injecting fun splashes of personality into your day, to reinventing tradition completely, all whilst focused on building a day bespoke to your dreams and desires. I cannot wait to get started, so let's get planning. Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Your Wedding Unlimited podcast. My name is Abby. I am a wedding planner. If you are new here and you haven't yet been acquainted with myself, then thank you so much for joining. I am so grateful to have you listening along. Another episode of the podcast is here. I'm excited, as always, to share some more wedding tips with you, some more wedding advice with you. I'm excited about this week's episode. I feel like it's going to help a lot of people or make a lot of people feel like they're not alone in this situation. Today, we are going to be talking about family dynamics, particularly those tricky family dynamics when it comes to wedding planning. It's a high pressure time. There's usually a lot of feelings that come up. And I just wanted to talk today about how do we handle that? How are we navigating that process as an individual, as a couple, in order to get the wedding day of our dreams? And I think it's going to be a good one. You know, I love a good rambly episode where I can just give some like agony aunt Abby advice. So I hope that you enjoy it. I hope you're excited. As always, if you have more questions about this at the end of the episode or you want me to dive into something else, then you can always send me a DM. Before we get stuck straight on into the episode, which I believe is episode 47 today, wild. If you haven't yet subscribed, if you're not yet following, if you haven't given us a lovely review and a 5-star rating, then please do make sure you go and do that. I am so grateful for all of the love and support, but we always want more. It helps with all of the data. It helps me find more couples that need wedding advice and, you know, support planning a wedding day their way. That's essentially what we are doing here. We are finding a way to carve our own path and build the wedding day of our dreams. So if you are enjoying them, please make sure you go and do that. Otherwise, we are going to get straight on into the episode. Let's do it. So, navigating tricky family dynamics, navigating the conversations, the difficult opinions and negative opinions sometimes these clashing of ideas and opinions and expectations. It's a lot, okay? The first thing I want to say, and the first thing we are going to talk about in this episode today, is that it is so normal. So normal. I know that doesn't make it any easier, but if you are planning a wedding right now, or you're about to start planning a wedding, or maybe, you know, you're almost done, or you've been done and you just like listening to wedding content still, it's so normal. So many people are going through this experience, excited and wanting to have this amazing, perfect wedding day, and feeling so anxious at the same time, so tense, so apprehensive about the opinions they're going to get of others if they want to do things differently, or for not wanting to do things a certain way, and for the negative reactions they might get from people, for the comments that just make you feel a bit like, ugh, really? You know when you're so excited about something and someone makes a comment that's not necessarily rude or negative, but there's just a little touch of like passive aggressiveness there, or a little touch of like spite in there, and you're like, oh, I can't call you out on it enough because you weren't being rude enough, you know, but it's bothered me. And it's put a little bit of a sting on all the excitement you're feeling. It's so normal. Every single family has something going on, right? Something about them. Like, there's no normal family. There is no normal family. The only thing that's normal is that we've all got something going on, whether there is a difficult relationship between yourself and your parents, or a sibling, or a cousin, or grandparents, or maybe your parents have a difficult relationship, very common one. Perhaps one of your parents and their siblings, so your aunt or uncles, have difficult relationships. Sometimes there's just tension. Sometimes families just clash because they're all very similar or they're all very different, and it's tough, right? It's normal. But the purpose of this episode is not just to be like, oh my gosh, how terrible, this is so awful. We are going to talk about how to navigate this process. And what I really want for you to get out of this episode is to feel confident in holding your boundaries, feel excited that you're still going to get the day of your dreams, and to just feel a bit more ready for that process. And yeah, just to be able to handle that delicately and be like, no, I stand by what I'm going to do, and it's not going to affect me. I'm not going to let that ruin my day. So yes, very normal. Families are tricky. We love them. But, you know, I will preface this episode by saying that families, a lot of the time, whether it's individuals or whether it's a group of people, more than one person, they are often coming from a place of love or excitement initially, right? There's their opinions, their comments, their input, whatever it might be, is often coming from this like excitement and like wanting to be involved, and their love for you. Sometimes along the way, they can forget that it's not about them. It's about you. It's about you and your partner getting married, becoming a unit of your own, starting your own family, your next chapter. And sometimes people forget that. Weddings bring out weird sides of people, okay? If you haven't yet experienced it, I'm sure you will. Whether it's a friend, whether it's a family member, sometimes it's just a comment that a colleague makes and you're like, weird. Why would you say that to me? Strange. Weddings bring out weird things in people. It brings out very strong opinions, very strong ideas, and it's never fails to amaze me, honestly. It doesn't stop me loving weddings. Don't get me wrong. My passion and my true love still lies with weddings. I think they are wonderful. Sometimes they just need a little bit of nurturing to get the day that you want, though. So definitely normal. Let's talk a little bit about why do weddings and families get so complicated? Because on the surface of it, right, your wedding day is supposed to be this amazing day. Like we said, it's exciting, it's full of love, you're bringing all these people together. But with that, it can get tricky. And I think it's the double-edged sword, isn't it? Because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm bringing together every single person I love into one intimate space for a really magical wedding day. How amazing. And then on the other side of it, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm bringing together everyone I love into one space for an entire pressure, full jam-packed day. There's different ways to look at it, right? I get it from both sides. Like after that initial excitement of like, oh my gosh, everyone's going to be there and it's going to be amazing. When you start digging into like, oh, but they don't like them, and they don't like the fact that we're not doing things traditionally in this sense, or they don't like the fact that we're not having a sit down meal, and they're going to kick off because actually we're not inviting all the cousins. We're only going to invite, some of them because there's 20 of them and we don't want to pay for all of them. We can't have all of them there. And you start digging into all these things and you're like, oh God, this is less fun than I'd initially anticipated. And yeah, it's not fun. It's not fun. There are parts of wedding planning that are not fun. What I want you to try and do throughout the process is try and hold on to the things that are. Don't feel like the whole process is miserable and stressful because of these things. They can be navigated. And I think if you catch them at the beginning and you take that control over your mindset and remind yourself, actually, it's our wedding planning process, not even just the wedding day, the whole process, that's ours. We are doing this journey. We are never going to do this again. And I refuse to let anyone take that away from me and take this process. If you go in with that mindset, I really think that can have an amazing impact. But yeah, I'm rambling. I'm going off the point when we were talking about why people act this way. Yeah, you're bringing together all of these people for a big special day. And unfortunately, people can't always keep their words and their opinions to themselves, and they just have to let it out. They have to let it run rampant. There are so many factors that come into why sometimes people have such a passionate belief that something is right or wrong. And they say, you can't not have a sit down meal, or you have to have a first dance. It's a wedding. You have to have a cake. Or, oh gosh, what could it be? Oh, you can't not wear a white wedding dress. All these things that when you think of what a wedding is, and I try to debunk a lot of that and kind of find alternative options on this podcast, sometimes people don't like that. There are always going to be people out there that like to follow tradition, and that's absolutely fine. They're not necessarily our people over in this side of the wedding space. Sometimes people feel jealous and this could be like a whole bunch of reasons, right? Maybe it's just the fact that you're getting married and they're not. and they're really excited to, or maybe they were engaged and now they're not, or they're divorced. Like, divorced people can be bitter. They can be very bitter and be like, oh, marriage is not worth it. Those kinds of people. And you're like, please, Uncle John, please don't. I'm actually really excited to get married. Thank you. It's those kind of people. Sometimes they're jealous because they didn't have the confidence to do the things that you're doing. So if you are breaking tradition, if you are doing things a little bit differently, or you're doing something a bit more fun, or maybe you've even got more budget to put into it than one of your siblings or cousins or friends or whatever, sometimes jealousy comes into play and they go, oh no, you don't want to do that. I don't like that. That like cattiness can come out, right? And it's normal. Again, I think you have to try and see things from their side and be like, yeah, fair, this must be tough for them. But also holding a boundary in place and being like, again, you don't get to take away from my experience because you are struggling with your own emotions, Parents sometimes as well. Parents often with weddings see their child getting married as their own kind of milestone, their own kind of success in its way, right? It's their own, like, oh my gosh, my baby's getting married. My baby is like starting their own family. This is so exciting. It's a big deal for them, of course. And I don't want to take away from that because it's major for parents. There's a reason we want our parents a lot of the time, not all the time, but there is a reason a lot of people want their parents so involved in their wedding. You want to be walked down the aisle. You want to spend the morning with your mum. You want to do the first dance, father-daughter dance, or the mother-son dance, or mother-daughter dance, whatever. You want to recognize them in your speech. You want them to help you plan the day. Like, there's a reason we want our parents involved, right? And from the same other side of the coin, when your child is getting married, that feels like a big deal. It's emotional, it's exciting, and sometimes, not always, sometimes parents can get carried away in that and try to take the lead a little bit too much, give too many opinions, or try to make it their day instead of your day. Very common, particularly when one thing that comes to mind, obviously there's a lot of things that come to mind. One thing that comes to mind is when people want to invite all of their friends to like their children's weddings. I know it's more common in specific cultures, but I've never understood it, because maybe it's just my perspective as a wedding planner that's like, well, it's my wedding, so I'm going to invite who I want. And I personally wouldn't want any single person at my wedding that I don't know, that I don't love, that I don't really, really like or enjoy spending time with. I don't want you at my wedding day because this is a really intimate occasion and this is a big deal. I don't want my parents' friends there just because they want to show off and be like, come, you have to come see my children get married. It's amazing. And I get it. I would love to hear, in fairness, from the cultures that is quite a big deal too, and where their parents do have a lot more involvement in the guest list and things. I would be interested to hear more about that and kind of how that goes down and all of those things. I feel like perhaps it's usually weddings with a bigger guest list anyway, right? Whereas I'm thinking like, oh, maybe you have 30, 40 people, 50, 60 max. You're not having that like 100, 200, 300 kind of plus guest list where you're not really going to notice who's there and who's not. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, gosh, I'm rambling again. This is a rambly episode, so I hope you're having a nice time. Regardless, I think that those are some of the main reasons, the big kickers, why weddings can get complicated when it comes to having families involved. The jealousy, the strong opinions, the strong traditional family values, all of those things. Sometimes people don't like change. It's as simple as that. They just don't like seeing people do things differently. And that's, doesn't just apply to weddings. That's anything in life. If you forge your own path, if you do something a bit differently, if you don't follow what everyone else before you has done, then people don't like it. People do not like it. So yeah, I do get it, but I am here for you guys listening, and I want to help you have a peaceful planning process and find that calm within the chaos and navigate this process in a way that feels really good for you and that feels comfortable and that you feel confident and excited in a way that you're going to get the day that you want. The last thing I want is for anyone to go through their wedding planning process feeling like little pieces of it are being taken away. The excitement, the love, oh, we've really wanted to do this, but we don't feel like we can because certain people are going to kick off and they're not going to like it. And I just don't, even if they're not going to kick off, I don't want the comments behind our back. And I don't want people saying, oh yeah, the wedding was nice, but I don't want that. Okay. I get that. What I want you to do though, is to be able to go through this process feeling like, do you know what? So-and-so is not going to like it, but that's fine. It's not their day. It's our day. And we're really excited about this decision that we're making. We feel like this is perfect for us. Okay. This is what I talk about all the time. This is what this whole podcast is about. Planning a wedding that is perfect for you. It's not about anyone else. I've said it before, I'll say it again. They've had their day. Anyone commenting or making judgments or opinions, they've had their wedding day, or they will get to have their wedding day, or maybe they choose not to have a wedding day, whatever the choice may be for them. It's not your problem and it's not your fault. You deserve to have the day of your dreams the way that you want it done. And other people's opinions shouldn't affect that in a negative way. And of course, I'm not talking about in this instance, if you're asking for opinions and you're like, please tell me what you think, or please help me decide between A and B. I'm not talking about that. Obviously, there is a certain element of wanting people's support during the planning process and wanting to be able to confide in your friends and family and say, oh, we're thinking about doing this. What do you guys think? What I'm talking about is those people that just keep chipping away at all the nice stuff. And you're like, oh, give it a rest, please. Just let me have this. Let me enjoy this process. That's what we're talking about. Now, the one thing I want you to do when it comes to navigating these tricky family dynamics whilst you're planning a wedding is to set boundaries from day one. Put those boundaries in place. It is so important. It doesn't need to be uncomfortable. It doesn't need to be unkind, but it's important. One thing I want to remind you here as well, and this applies for every single person that you are inviting to your wedding, even your parents, even your siblings, even your best friend, whatever, they are still guests. No one has got like a given invite, in my opinion. Not even my parents. I can't imagine for myself not inviting my parents to my wedding, but rest assured, it's not a case of like if they did something so atrocious or said something so horrible, not that I think they would, but it is not out of the realm for me to be like, listen, you're still a guest. You can be uninvited, parent or not, sibling or not, best friend or not, okay? It's my wedding day. So I will hold the boundaries in place to protect my peace. And I think that's really important. Not everyone is like that. I get that. Sometimes I can stand a bit firm with those things. And that's just me as a person. I get it. But I don't always think that boundaries need to be that firm and intense, okay? Let's remind ourselves that, yes, we love these people. We are inviting to them our wedding, but it's an invitation, okay? They are a guest and you are inviting them to celebrate this day with you, to share the love with you, to enjoy the day with you, not to make comments or digs or be jealous and catty and nasty or tell you that you're doing things wrong or make you feel like the things you're really excited about aren't exciting. That's not what we want. So we want to put some boundaries in place. Okay. The first thing we want to do is stand together as a couple. So conversations need to be had at the beginning stages of that planning process. If you are at the beginning of your planning process, a little side note, and if you haven't done your pre-planning wedding date night yet, go and do it. If you haven't listened to it, I want to say it's the first episode I ever did of this podcast, how to plan for your wedding planning. Go and listen to it. It's fun. There's lots of tips in there about how to prepare for this process. One of the big things I talk about in there being communication. And particularly with your partner, you need to be on the same page. You need to both understand how you're going into this process. What are we standing for in this process? What's important to us? What are our non-negotiables? How are we handling conflict? How are we handling negative comments? We need to be united in it as a couple, because you can't have one of you biting back and saying, no, this is what we're doing, we stand by that, whatever, and then the other one's going, oh, do you think we should change it because so and so's upset? You want to be united in this front. And of course, these conversations are going to change and evolve as you go throughout the planning process, but talk about it. Talk about how you might navigate this process. If you know you've got a tricky family member and you're like, oh, we just know that this person is going to be a bit tough to handle, or is going to make a lot of demands and requests about where they're sat on the day and what their role is on the day and what they're allowed to do and when they can come, can they spend the morning here and can they do this and can they make this for us? And you're like, we really don't want anyone making anything. It's not our style and vibe. Like, appreciate it, but no thanks. You need to be united in that front and you need to have that conversation and agree together how we're going to handle it so that whoever gets the question can handle it in a way that you'll both be happy with and respect. And sometimes it's as simple as just saying, we're really excited about this and this is what we're going to do. Can't wait for you to be there on the day. Can't wait to experience the day with you. It's going to be so much fun. Sometimes that boundary looks like, well, maybe we're not telling people the non-traditional things we're doing and they can just find out on the day because, we're going to be too swept up in it to notice or for people to come and say things to us that are going to bother us, by the time it's done, and we've had the day of our dreams. Sometimes it looks like that, just being like, we're not going to tell people certain things because we don't want the comments and we don't need the negativity. And no, Auntie Sue, you don't need to see the seating plan before the day. You'll just turn up and you'll sit where you're sat. Okay. I'm not going to have all these cooks in the kitchen trying to, oh no, put so and so next to here and don't seat them on this table and don't do this. Sometimes you just need to put that boundary in place and say, no, it's okay. I've got it handled. Thanks so much, though. Even if you don't, even if you're going home as a couple and being like, oh my God, this seating plan is stressing us out. Like, how are we going to figure it out? If you know that certain family members are going to make it worse, just don't tell them. Don't get them involved. Just say, no, we've got it handled. It's all good. Yeah, don't worry about it. And sometimes that will take a few goes. And sometimes it's from someone that means so well. And you're like, oh gosh, this is really hard to keep having to tell you to just kind of leave us to it, because I know that you mean well and it's coming from a place of love, but it's really not what we need right now. Sometimes it's that. But I think it's important to do. Boundaries are really important to do. One thing you should be doing from the get-go for the whole of your planning, not just for this specific boundary holding part, but you need to be deciding what your non-negotiables are and where you are happy to take input from other people. Okay, so there might be things like your seating plan when you are like, we don't need input from anyone else. No, thank you. But maybe when it comes to your food choices and like, what are people going to want to eat, or what signature cocktails should we have, or what bits of decor could we do, or what flowers would be really nice. Maybe that's where you're like, we'd love input from people on that. Actually, what music should we have? Maybe the song choices, you're putting together your playlist. Maybe that's where you're saying, yeah, we'd love input from people on that. We're not going to talk to people about the seating plan. We're not going to talk to people about our outfits. We're not going to talk to people about the running of the day because we're not doing things in the traditional order. Maybe it's that. And having those conversations, it doesn't need to be a major thing either. Sometimes I feel like I think in these episodes I sit here and say, oh, talk about this, do that. And it can feel like there's now suddenly a big list of rules and a big process you have to go through. It doesn't have to be like that. Sometimes it's just a quick 5-minute conversation. Oh, I was thinking about this. I'm a bit worried about how so-and-so is going to react to us doing things a bit differently with the seating plan. Should we just not tell anyone anything? Should we just keep that to ourselves until the day? Fine. Conversation done. As long as you're on the same page, problem solved. Okay. This is like an ongoing process throughout this wedding planning journey. And it's not kind of just a one and done. There will be things that pop up right until a few weeks before that you think, oh gosh, I haven't actually told them yet that they don't really have a role to play on the day. And now they're asking, how do we navigate that? Have a conversation, decide how you're going to handle it, and hold your boundary. When it comes to wedding day roles as well, I think this can get quite tricky because people want to be involved. They get excited. They want to be a part of your day. They want to feel important. They want to have something that says like, yeah, I've got a special role to play on the day, and that makes me feel good and I'm excited to be involved. Families are big sometimes. Your friends can be big groups sometimes. You don't always have the space to give everyone a special role. And if you have someone that keeps asking, oh, what do I get to do on the day? What do you want me to do on the day? Sometimes you just need to say, look, just being there is enough, and find a kind way to say, actually, we don't need you to do anything. Just turn up, have a nice time. That's it. It's tough. I know it's tough. But these boundaries do not make you rude. They do not make you unkind. It's your wedding day. Okay, and you are allowed to put boundaries in place. Now, of course, I'm going to talk about the other side of things, and I want to talk about finding that balance there as well, because this isn't just about you storming in there and saying, nobody talk to us about our wedding, nobody tell us what we can and can't do, I don't want to hear anyone's opinions, everybody stay out of it, because I know that's not the vibe, and I know for most of you that's not your vibe either. So there is a balance to find there. You might want to be honoring some traditions, but there might be some things that you think it just doesn't feel right for us. Okay. Certain elements of the wedding day, maybe the first dance, you're like, actually, we cannot think of anything worse. Nothing worse. I don't want to do it. Even just thinking back to an episode I did recently when I had Julie Herman on, the photographer, in one of my guest episodes recently. I want to say episode 44 or 45. I can link it in the show notes for you. But she was talking about how she's planning her own wedding day. And she said, we are just not dancey people. We don't go out clubbing. We don't drink. We're not those kinds of people. So the idea of having, after our wedding breakfast, this whole evening night of people dancing and the music on and all those things, she was like, it's not for us. That's not our vibe. So they've decided that they're actually going to do like a pub quiz. after their wedding breakfast, and it's just going to be really chill, and they're going to have their family there and do a quiz, and it's going to be like fun and competitive. That's how they want to spend their wedding evening. It's not traditional. It's not what people normally do, but that's what they want to do. And this is where the fun comes into it as well. This is what I really want to highlight here, is that those personal elements, the ways that you're making your wedding day feel like your own, feel like you've put your spin on it, that's where the magic happens. That's where those amazing memories set into place on the day when you're like, oh my gosh, this just feels so magic and perfect. If you're following a template of someone else's wedding, of what you think you should be doing, yes, you'll have a lovely day, I'm sure, and it will look amazing and be lovely to have everyone there, but you'll be missing these little moments of magic on the day where you could have personalized it a bit more, where you could have done something that feels like you. If you don't want to be stood up there swaying to a song that you don't want to be dancing to in your first dance, that's not a feel-good moment. It doesn't feel good. Whereas actually, if you say, we want to scrap it, we don't want to do it, or we'd love to do it, but we just want to do it privately, and that feels really magic to us. Make the decisions that serve you. There is nothing wrong with that, okay? We are finding balance. So yes, you might want to honor some traditions. It just might not always be the traditions that everyone else wants you to follow. And sometimes people want you to follow every tradition because it's a wedding day, so you have to do this, and you can't see each other before the ceremony, and you have to wear white, and then you have to cut the cake in the evening and do this, and you have to do all these certain things, right? Okay, you have to have a religious ceremony, and you have to do this, and no, you don't. But there are some people that still think that way. So find the balance. What traditions do you want to honor? What do you want to keep? What feels good for you? What do you want to change up and make your own? And what do you want to scrap completely? I actually have, I'm going to do another little shameless plug here for a freebie. Actually, I've got a freebie for a wedding traditions checklist. So if you are going through this process and thinking, we kind of want to change things up and decide which traditions we want to keep and don't keep, I've got a checklist that I've made of most of the like common wedding traditions: keeping the white wedding dress, doing a first look or not seeing each other before the ceremony, the father-daughter dance, walking each other down the aisle. I've got a checklist, and you can go through and you can tick off for each one whether we want to keep it, whether we want to change it, or whether we want to scrap it completely. And you can make notes on there and decide how to make all of these traditions your own. So if that interests you and it sounds like fun, I'm going to leave the link in the show notes below. It's completely free. Just put your email in and you should be able to download it. So yeah, go find that there. But that's where the fun comes in. Coming back to what I'm saying, when you're making decisions on like, how do we want to do this? Like, do we want to, when people started having more than one outfit on the day and they were changing, like that wasn't normal. People are like, oh my gosh, they've got a second outfit. They've got a second dress for the evening. Not traditional in the sense, but it's fun and people love it. And if it feels right for you and it's easier to dance in, then crack on. People love that. Okay. So we are finding ways to make things our own, finding that balance in the process. And at the same time, sometimes there are things where you think it's really important to my mum or my grandma or my sibling that this certain thing gets involved, because it's how we've always done it and it's really important to them and it makes them feel special. I'm not 100% keen on it. So how can we find that compromise to keep them happy and to still get the day that we want? And, I'm still having that final decision, because ultimately, you don't want to go starting fights and fires where you don't need to. Okay. Sometimes it's a tricky dynamic and you've got a difficult family member and you're like, oh my goodness, you are really making life difficult. But we don't want to cause more issues unnecessarily. Okay. These are the people we love. This is our family. This is our friends. We want them involved in this process. And we don't want to hurt them, right? We don't want them to be upset, but at the same time, it's your wedding day. So we are finding balance. How can we make them feel comfortable? How can we make them feel involved? How can we keep them happy and still get the day that we want? So sometimes that means a compromise. Sometimes it means, fine, we'll do this first and then we'll do this after. Fine, I'll wear the white wedding dress for the ceremony, but then I'm getting changed into something fun, right? Fine, we'll do a first dance, but I don't want everyone there. We'll just bring my grandparents could come watch and then they can join in with us or something because it's really important to them. Fine. Yeah, we don't want a cake. We're not going to have a cake. But if it's really important for you, Mum, that I have one, feel free to organize one. Fine. There's my compromise. It's trying to keep the peace in those relationships and hold those boundaries in place at the same time. And again, coming back to another one of my guest episodes, actually, this is a very guest episode referring episode. I keep thinking of wonderful things that my guests have said. When I spoke to Ellis, the wedding celebrant, in episode, 35, I want to say. I can link it in the show notes as well. We talked about family dynamics and doing things traditionally. And she'd said this really well, you don't want to cause more tension and divide with your family if there's something they really want you to do, but you don't want to do it. So we are trying to find the harmony in that makes you feel comfortable and them as well. It was a really nice conversation we had. I do recommend going to listen to it if you haven't yet listened to that one. But yeah, balance. It's important. Now, we've talked about a lot of things in this episode. We have gone through quite a few different scenarios where things might crop up, but there are some really common sticking points if you're at the beginning of this process and you're like, where might issues crop up? Sometimes it's in general just about the wedding process. Things pop up and you're like, oh, so and so's got an opinion on this, that, or the other. There are some common things that tend to bring out the spicy comments in people or the opinions. Guest list being one of them. The guest list is a really big one, and it's one that I think a lot of couples struggle with because you don't want to offend people, you don't want to upset people, and it's that like, oh, well, we're inviting them, so we have to invite them, or so-and-so said that we have to invite all these people because they'll be offended if we don't, and actually we don't really want these people there. Children is a big one. If you don't want children at your wedding, it's completely fair, but people kick off if their children aren't invited, or if you're not inviting all of the tiny little cousins and all those things. Sometimes it's like, well, they are my kids, so they should be there, or they're my siblings or my nieces and nephews, fine. But also at the same time, if you want an adults only wedding and they can get childcare for the day, fine. That's your decision to make, isn't it? So, but guest lists are hard. I get it. It's a tough one. A lot of people say they're like, we're really stuck on the guest list and we need to cut it down, or like there's people we've had to invite. We're kind of hoping that they say no, or that someone else drops out so that we can invite these other people that we really want to invite, but we just didn't have room on the initial guest list. And that's really tough. That makes me sad to hear, but it's very normal. Outfits is another one, whether it's what you as a couple are wearing or what the guests are supposed to wear or what the bridal party is supposed to wear. This is another one that brings up a lot of opinions in people. Traditions is a big one, and it crops up a lot because there's all these should do's and shouldn't do's when it comes to weddings, and that can be a big point of conversation or opinion for people when it comes to the process. As soon as you start sharing ideas on, we think we're going to do this, it'd be fun to do this, and normally people do this, but actually we're going to do this, but you start seeing, even if people don't say anything, it's that like, oh, a look on their face from the people that can't control their facial expressions. It's a little bit of that, or just like an undercutting comment sometimes when you're like, I feel like you didn't really mean that when you were saying that it was a really great idea. Traditions is a tough one. That's a really common sticking point. Finances is another one. A lot of the time, particularly with like your closer family and friends, right? Maybe when you're talking about how much you're going to spend on certain things, or we're going to spend less on the flowers because we really want to put more into the entertainment or our outfits or whatever's important to you. And you've got someone going, oh gosh, no, you don't want to scrimp on flowers. It's going to look awful. You want to put more into your flowers. Don't worry about entertainment. Nobody cares about that. And you're trying to be like, actually, we want to spend it how we want to spend it. And things can get tough. And particularly as well, I mention this a lot, if you are being gifted any money from parents, grandparents, family in general, towards your wedding day, this can be a really, really tough scenario because they're like, well, I've given you the money, so I decide how it gets spent. Not always, again, not always. I feel like I need to say that. But sometimes people feel like they're entitled to decide how you spend that money, and because they're contributing. And, if you've got parents that are basically paying for your entire wedding, this can be a really tough one because sometimes that can get used against you, or they're like, well, we're paying, so we don't want to use those people. We're going to use this, or, we're paying, so don't worry. I know you said you didn't want to invite too many people, but we're just going to invite some more people because, they'd like to be there. So it's fine. We're paying. Doesn't matter. We're paying. And this is where those boundaries can come into play. I said it before. I will say it again. I feel like that's my little catchphrase. If accepting money from someone for your wedding means that you have to compromise on something that's really important to you, it's probably not worth doing. Okay, a bigger budget doesn't mean a better wedding day, doesn't mean more love, doesn't mean more amazing memories. It just means you've got more money to spend. So if accepting that money means that you have to compromise on something that you really actually love because someone's saying, well, we're paying for it, so we don't think you should do that, we think you should do this instead, maybe don't take it. It's a tough one. Have a conversation, talk to your partner. This is again where that communication is so, so important. Your venue is another thing that can cause a sticking point. Sometimes there's a specific place and people don't like it and have got opinions on it. Ceremony choices, how you're choosing to do that, who's involved, what the roles are, all of these things. Seating plans is a huge one. We've talked about that a little bit as well. Speeches is another one because it's, we're moving away from this. There's only three specific people that do the speech, the father of the bride, the groom, and the best man. We're moving away from that kind of thing. And more different people that love us are giving different opinions and sharing their stories and lovely messages for us. More and more people want to give a speech, and that's amazing, right? But because of that, sometimes you have so many people that want to give a speech, and you're like, we don't want certain people giving a speech because we think they're going to say things that aren't inappropriate, or maybe we just, there's a bit of tension there between another person and we just don't want to ignite that. There's this feeling of involved that I think sometimes your guests want to feel because they want to feel a part of your day. They want to feel special. They want to feel important, and it can get tough. Okay. If you've got a lot of siblings, if you've got a lot of friends, if you've got extended family, maybe your parents are divorced and remarried, and you've got step parents and step siblings and all these other people that you're like, oh gosh, are they going to be offended if they're not involved? We just don't have that many roles for them. And it doesn't mean we don't care about them, it doesn't mean we don't love them, but I don't want to spend my whole wedding planning process trying to keep everyone happy with a token role to play. Could you hold this for us on the day? And could you please put this here on the day, just so they feel involved? Sometimes you have to draw the line and be like, listen, just being there is enough. We don't need to go bigger and better all the time, but it's tough. So have the conversations. My ultimate top tip for this episode, I think, as we're kind of rounding up, I will share, is to not share everything with everyone. Keep some of those things to yourself if you know that people are going to maybe make judgments, if you know your guest list is going to be a sticking point, if you know your seating plan is going to be a point of contention, if you know that you're doing things non-traditionally and you're like, we just don't want the aggro, keep it to yourselves, keep it vague. Just say, oh, it's going to be a really fun day, we're doing things differently, and we can't wait for everyone to see it. You need to answer more questions. You can just say, wait and see. You don't need to go into all of those things. And sometimes protecting your peace in that process as well is really important. Having a enjoyable, peaceful, fun, exciting, controlled in your own way wedding planning process is really important, because that follows through. It does. It carries you through to your wedding day. No one has the most chaotic, stressful, miserable wedding planning process and then gets to their wedding day and goes, woohoo, this is going to be amazing. Even if they are a bit like that, there will still be this element of like, oh gosh, thank God we're finally here. Or what a relief. Or I just want to get this day over and done with. I'm so done with all of the intervening and comments, and it's been so stressful, right? These feelings carry through. You don't have a stressful process and then have the most relaxed wedding day of your life. You need to start that as you mean to go on from the beginning stages. Okay, it's important. So talk to your partner, have these conversations on your little Wedman sessions, which I hope you were all booking in. I assume you all will be, whether it's, a Monday night as you start off the week, whether it's a Saturday evening or a Sunday morning over brunch, when you're sitting down to go through your wedding plans, whether it's every couple of weeks, whether it's a couple of times a week as you get nearer to the wedding day, maybe it's once a week, whatever you're doing, have the conversations, talk it out. Remember, you as a duo, as a team, are the ones that need to be on the same page. Doesn't matter about anyone else. We can navigate that later. Hold your boundaries in place and remember that it's your day. This is the ultimate message, right? It's your wedding day. So as long as you are not hurting people and being unkind and generally offensive, then I feel like you can put yourselves first and you can say, this is our day. We're not bothering anyone. We're not hurting anyone. We're not committing a crime. We're just planning our wedding day our way. And I think that's something that should really be listened to. Follow your gut, follow your heart, and plan the wedding day of your dreams. Okay, and enjoy it, because it is a fun process, but it does go by fast. It'll feel like the wedding day is forever away, and then when it's there, it's gone. And then the wedding blues kick in. Okay, it's a very up and down process, but I want you to enjoy it. This is your process. Okay, So yeah, I think we're going to round that up there, but I hope you found this helpful. If you do need more help wedding planning, if you need some extra support, if you're like, this is actually just so stressful and it's not even just to do with our family's opinions, there's just so much to do and we're finding it stressful, or we've planned the day, but we want someone to take over with all those plans because we don't want to worry about it on the day. Maybe that's what you're looking for. Maybe you're looking for someone to come and style your wedding day because that's a new package that I'm offering. Whatever it might be, I can help you with that. If you're looking for a wedding planner in the UK, or anywhere else, I'm not opposed to traveling. If you want to send me to France or Spain for a nice weekend away, I would love to. I would love to come and help you plan your wedding day. All of the details, as always, are in the show notes if you want to contact me. If you just want more wedding inspiration, if you just want to hang out where I hang out, then come and follow me on Instagram. We've got a Facebook group. I've got an email newsletter. That freebie will be in the show notes as well if you want to come and find that. There's loads of good stuff down there. Okay, so if you've been enjoying this, then you're probably going to enjoy some of that. And if you've made it this far, because this is a pretty long, rambly episode, then we would probably get along. So feel free to reach out and chat. I love hearing about people's wedding plans. I love it when people just message me and they're like, oh, can I just show you this? Because I'm really excited about this for my wedding day and there's no one else I can tell because we're keeping it a secret. Or can I just show you my wedding dress because no one else is as excited as me and I need someone to be on my level. Send it my way, please. I'm so excited for you. Thank you for joining. I am so excited for next episode. We release episodes every single Wednesday. If you are new, there will be a new one next Wednesday. So I'm excited to speak to you then. Thank you so much for joining and I will speak to you next week. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Your Wedding Unlimited podcast. I hope you're feeling inspired and excited to create your dream wedding day and those lasting memories. Don't forget to hit that follow or subscribe button so you never miss an episode. I'll be back next Wednesday with more tips, advice, and inspiration. In the meantime, don't be a stranger. Come and find me on Instagram and TikTok at Your Wedding Unlimited, where I share even more wedding ideas and behind-the-scenes insights. You can also watch these episodes on YouTube at Your Wedding Unlimited. And if you're looking for even more support, come and join my private Facebook group, Your Wedding Unlimited. It's an amazing community of fun and authentic engaged couples, packed with extra tips, advice, and insights to guide you along your journey. If you have any questions or need more info, you can DM me or send me an email at yourweddingunlimitedpodcast@gmail.com. All links and details will be in the show notes. Until next time, happy planning!